tell us a little bit about her book?
Oh, okay, great. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Islanders, which you can see here and all behind me. Lots of marketing. So a little bit about my book. So it's kind of reality TV meets Agatha Christie. So it's about main character is a woman called Kimberly. She used to be a police officer, but when we meet her, her life's a bit of a mess. And she gets invited to participate on a reality show, and she flies off to Greece, and it's her and other contestants. And sort of after their really drunken first night, they find a body, and things happen, and Kimberly, the main character, has to solve the murder live on television, and the longer it takes, sort of the threat is that more people will die.
So before we get into the story, I love the cover.
Yeah, I know, it's so nice, isn't it? I absolutely love it too.
How much of a say did you have in the design?
So a fair amount. We when I was first chatting to Sian about it, she sort of said to me, what did I have in mind? And I had a couple of ideas, slightly different to this. It was a sort of swimming pool, maybe a fallen over wine glass or something like that, that obviously denoted being on holiday. And then it just sort of went to the designer, and she came back with this cover. And Sian and Louise were saying, you know, what did I think? Did I like it? And I said, yeah, it was amazing. It was far better than anything that I could have imagined. So I think she did a really good job.
We've already got comments coming in on the stream. So Kieran Palmer is saying happy publication day.
Thank you. I've got a little glass of something to celebrate, but I'll try not to drink it all very quickly.
Sam, who's our other author chat admin and is lovely, says hi Kaz and Sarah, happy publication day. Marion Todd says she's so excited about it, and can she ask if the title was yours from the start or was it chosen later?
So the title was mine from the start. Yeah, I'd always wanted to call it The Islanders. I mean, I would have been quite open to changing it, because I have noticed that there are some other books already called The Islanders, very different to mine. I think, you know, have come out at different times, like years ago. But no, that was the title from the beginning.
So you're with Canelo. How did you find them as a publisher?
So it's quite not necessarily a funny story, but quite I think it's a unique story. So on my 30th birthday, 3rd of September last year, was it last year? Oh no, 2 years ago, 2019. Time has flown so quickly. Last year, sorry, 2020. This lockdown has confused me significantly about dates and times. So on my 30th birthday last year, I participated in a Twitter competition called PitMad. So I had, I think it's 270 characters to pitch my book. And on that day, editors and agents are looking at the tweets. And Sian liked my tweet. So she was one of the people that I sent the book off to that night or the next day. And then it was funny because it was my 30th birthday. I was sort of in a restaurant drinking and then checking the tweets and seeing how well it was doing. So it was kind of a flurry of activity. And then a week later, she offered, she said she loved it and that everybody at Canelo loved it and they'd like to offer me publication. So that's how I started working with Canelo. But I was really keen to have an agent. I wanted to have also, you know, somebody else to work with and have somebody that would be there for the length of my career. Whereas at the time that was it was a one book deal with Canelo, a one book offer. So I then reached out to Emily and she offered me representation. So I sort of did it the other way around to the way most authors do it.
It's nice. And it seems like a really friendly company, Canelo. There's like all the authors seem to got on very well as well. And
yeah, and I sort of have chatted to Marion, and she's always offering me advice. She's also offered me lots of advice about which crime books I should be reading, about police like procedure and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, and I talk a lot with Sarah Leonard, whose book is coming out in 2 weeks. She's also at Canelo, and her and I always chat about, you know, things, debut things we're worried about, like reviews, things we're not sure about. So it's really nice to have that sort of community around me to chat to.
so Sophie said hello to you, and she says she also can't remember how old she is. Marion says Canelo are just fab. Jason Kelly, who's one of our admins, wants to know how long it took you to get your first publishing deal.
So this is where I'm going to have to do dates again. Actually, it was a common theme in my copy edits that my knowledge of time and dates was not very strong. So I started writing when I was living abroad, when I was living in Malaysia, and I'd had an idea for ages. Actually, it was a young adult fantasy novel was my first idea, and I started writing that sort of on and off for about 3 years. It went through multiple edits, and I can't remember when I decided to let it go. I let it go, and then I had a couple of other ideas, and then in August 2019, sort of summer 2019, I had the idea for The Islanders. I wrote it in about 3 months, and then edited it during the first lockdown, and then pitched it in September. So my very first novel is the first thing I'd ever written, actually. Was such an important learning experience, and I just discovered how much I loved writing, but it wasn't quite the right genre for me, I don't think. And then when I started writing crime, I mean, it should have clicked anyway, because I love crime novels. It's all I read, it's all I watch on, you know, on television. So I don't know why it took me so long to figure it out. But then Islanders was really, really quick. So since I first started writing 2015, so 6 years, 5 and a bit years.
That's pretty quick. Some people take so long to get from like first.
Yeah, I think there's so many different. Some people go through it's such a different journey for every single author. You know, some people it will be the first thing that they ever write. Some people it could be their 20th novel. But yeah, it feels very quick, especially because my very first novel was more of a learning experience, I think, than necessarily. I mean, I did query it. I tried to pursue publication, but because I never written before, I remember getting sort of in 20,000 words and thinking, oh my God, how did I get here? I don't know anything about writing. And then I did loads of research, watched loads of YouTube videos about how to be a writer, what is a plot, and all those types of things. So it was almost like a creative writing course, that first novel, just by trying and changing and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. So yeah, the Islanders was felt like a much slicker process than that first one.
There was a question from Kieran. He wanted to know how many drafts did it take to get to the final product?
So for the Islanders, I did one very first draft I remember was multi-point of view, half multi-point of view and half not. Because I wanted to be inside every character's head before the first murder started, and then switch just to Kimberly. But I entered a mentoring program, and I wasn't selected, but I was very lucky to get feedback from sort of the founder of the mentoring program and another author, and they both gave me loads of feedback, and it basically was quite clear that the multi-point of view just wasn't working. So I cut that completely. So then that was a second major draft, and then during lockdown, I think I polished it to third. It didn't change hugely. And then when Sean she sent me developmental edits, call that, say, I don't know, fourth draft. And the core of it didn't change. It was very much the beginning and the end needed to change, but the sort of heart of the story didn't significantly change. And then obviously you've got the copy edit and the proofreading and those sorts of changes. But I'd say 3 or 4 major like drafts, but they weren't all major rewrites. My very first edit was a major, well, felt like it because I was cutting sort of 30,000 words and had to find a way to build that back in.
There's so many comments coming in. So Francesca Riccardi, I'm sorry, Francesca, if I messed up that name, says, what's your favorite reality TV program? And why did you pick reality TV as a backdrop to your novel?
So favorite reality television show. I mean, I've had so many. When I was a teenager, I used to love Ladette to Lady. I don't know if anyone ever watched that. They would take all these absolutely raucous girls and try and turn them into ladies. I don't know why I really enjoyed it, but I did. I really recently I've fallen in love with Selling Sunset. I thought that was just fantastic. The clothes are outrageous. The houses are outrageous. I think it's super fun. Obviously, I love Love Island. I think that's a great reality television show. And there's loads of sort of random ones. I have sort of like a guilty pleasure for it. Me and my family were recently watching Bling Empire as well on Netflix. That was great fun. Because my dad's obsessed with he loves the film Crazy Rich Asians, and so when it was advertised to him, he goes, oh, that might be like Crazy Rich Asians, let's watch that. So that, yeah, loads to choose from, but probably Love Island, and definitely when I was a teenager, Ladette to Lady. But why did I choose it sort of as the backdrop for my novel? I wouldn't necessarily say it was a conscious choice. The idea just came to me when I was watching a show and thought this would be, such a great idea for a book. Funnily enough, I far later, after I'd written the story, I noticed on ITV that they do have a show called Killer in the Camp or something like that, and it's effectively you're watching other people do a murder mystery, but it's in a camp. So I thought, oh, that's funny. I didn't know that was a thing. But I just think it's so interesting. There's so many reality shows. They're all very different, but people absolutely love them. And with things like Black Mirror, John Ma's The Passengers kind of sort of inspired me a bit as well. It just seems such a great place to set a novel, because you don't know what's real and what's fake.
I'm laughing at the comments coming up because Victoria Dowd seems to have a thing for Real Housewives, which is a brilliant reality show.
I started watching it. I watched it, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and I really, really enjoyed that because of lockdown, I'm staying with my parents, and my mum said, oh, I'll just watch 20 minutes before I go to bed. And then sort of 4 episodes later, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and we're still watching Real Housewives, and we all have very strong opinions on the characters. So I feel like I shouldn't start watching anymore, because they're just so good at being addictive. And Keeping Up with the Kardashians, about that. Love Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
And Ian Miller wants to know your least favorite reality show.
Least favorite. I think sometimes when the seasons have gone on for just too long and they start to get a bit ridiculous. So I felt like, Big Brother was around for such a long time, and it felt like it wasn't fresh anymore, because they just kept having to be more and more outrageous and get more and more outrageous characters. But I don't know. I think The Circle looks quite strange on I don't know, I can't remember what channel that one's on, where I don't really know how it works, but from what I've seen via Gogglebox, another great reality television show. I didn't think I was such a reality television show fan, but clearly it's all coming out now. I thought that looked a bit strange. I didn't really like the concept of pretending to be somebody else. I mean, that's what social media has bred, I guess, but yeah, I found that a bit strange.
There seems to be quite a crime writer collection of suggestions for real crime writers.
Uh, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we could do that. I saw somebody posted in this group. I think it was this group, or maybe it was the Crime Fiction Addict Facebook group. But STV are looking for armchair detectives to sort of solve crimes. So and then I was thinking, oh, maybe I should apply as a crime writer and say like sort of the goggle box for crime, sort of crime aficionados. So yeah, I thought about applying for that.
Heather Darwin wants to know, did you know who'd done it from the beginning?
I'm trying to remember. I knew, yes, I think I did. I certainly knew why they did it. But who the person was kind of changed over time. But I knew why, and yeah, I knew why more than who. Um, and then that kind of fed into who in the end.
So there's quite a strong Agatha Christie influence in your book. Who else would you say are like your influential crime writers?
So who did you say was quite a strong influence?
There's quite a strong kind of Agatha Christie influence in that novel. So who are your other main crime writing influences?
So I think there's a difference between whom I'm influenced by from a writing perspective and what sort of crime novels I enjoy reading. Definitely influence like John Mars. Certainly, I think he. I'm not sure if the one necessarily counts as it's part crime, part drama, but I really enjoyed that. Um, and looking forward to seeing that on Netflix when it comes out tomorrow or something. And there's another writer called Chris McGeorge who very kindly gave a nice quote for this book. He has done a sort of locked room thriller. I love T.M. Logan, Lucy Foley, and maybe they're influences in the sense that I really enjoyed reading them, but I don't think they necessarily influence the style. I think I'm a bit more crimey than there's a maybe more psychological thriller.
And my dad's and you have a lot of Islanders books on your shelf. You can't see the names coming up, but I can look at them on my phone and check. Going back, there's so many comments. It's quite hard to pick out the ones that are the questions. Marion Todd wants to know who you'd like to play Kimberly in the film or TV adaptation.
So in my head, I based her on the woman who won Love Island the year that I watched it. So can't remember her name, Amber Gill. And I actually have a friend who's an actress who does look quite like her. So I'd love it to be her. If it ever gets made into a film. She's called Aurora, but you wouldn't know her to look her up. But she was in The Stranger. What was it? Stranger on Netflix. The Harlan Coben book. She played one of the characters who worked in the shop with can't remember her name now. The other half at Ab Fab that isn't Joanna Lumley. Can't remember her name. Someone will tell me in the chat. I can't believe I've forgotten. But yeah, so she looks sort of like this the lady who won Love Island. So that's who I had in my head when I was writing it.
So Samantha says, what's been an important lesson that you've learned from writing The Islanders that will help you moving forward?
That's a good question.
She's good at tricky questions.
Yeah, that is a really tricky one. So I think, I'd say the most important lesson I learned in my very first book was like letting it go. And when I let it go and The Islanders was born, that felt like such an incredible sort of thing to do. But with The Islanders, I knew that I wrote it very quickly. And I think I learned what type of writer I am. So there's obviously the debate between plotters and pantsers. I think I sit in the sort of bang in the middle, that I do like to have an outline. I like to plan to a certain point. But, you know, I know from Marion Todd, for example, she's totally meticulous in her planning, and I'm not. I do like to get writing as soon as possible. So yeah, I think learning a bit more about my process and how I write, how to edit. I mean, how to just cut things. You know, that when I was told that opening wasn't working, I just you know, highlighted it all and just pressed delete, and that was 20,000 words gone. And I just thought, I say delete, I cut it and I saved it elsewhere, so that in my head, if I wanted to bring it back, and some parts I did bring back in different guises, but just doing what you need to do to make it better, even if it's hard, that's certainly something that I learned.
The other half of our fab is Jennifer Saunders.
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
We've got, is Amber the bomb disposal expert, or am I getting a tad confused? Is that your friend Amber? Oh no, or the friend?
No, the one who no, I think she was a nail technician, the one who won Love Island. I mean, she might dispose of bombs in her spare time. I don't know.
Sheila Bugler wants you to tell us about your next book.
So my next book is not finished yet. I'm about 60,000 words in, and it's a sort of amateur sleuth. So it's about a woman who wants to be a true crime like influencer, but hasn't done very well at it, and she gets invited to, I'm saying this, it might change, so so just, if this is not the book that comes out, it's because Sean's edit letter was really long and said no, this doesn't work. But at the moment she gets invited to the Influencer of the Year awards, where like the biggest influencer goes missing, and she thinks, I should solve this crime, and I'm going to film it as I do it.
Nice, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, I hope so.
What have we got here? We've got some comments about planning. Sheila says she's a pantser and Marion is a queen of plotting. And Marion says plotting is everything. Come over to the dark side.
I do try. I try to plot. And to a certain extent, my plots have not significantly changed when I've been writing. I'm quite an impatient person, so once I've got the plot, I also feel as I go. So as I'm writing a scene, I couldn't write a scene without it being maybe bullet pointed out to me. But my characters develop as I'm writing them, and I'll research as I go as well.
Victoria says that you should write it for your idea for your second book. It's a good idea.
Oh right, okay. Okay. Well, no, I've written 60,000 words, so I'm at a bit of a block with how to, I know how it ends and I love how it ends, but the middles are always hard. Just trying to maintain this. The Islanders is so pacey, and I think I'm definitely an underwriter, so I'm quite militant with what goes in there. I'm really bad at describing setting the scene. I don't like spending a lot of time doing that. I like there to be, action. So because this is a bit slower, because it is more of an amateur sleuth, a bit more like a police procedural, it just feels so much slower to my first one, which is what's making me kind of panic about it. But luckily Sean is so good. And I've already sort of sent her the sort of in-depth synopsis and all of my general list of concerns, and she said we'll have a chat about it to flesh it out. So yeah.
Sean just commented and said she also loves how it ends, and then done a little zippy emoji. Victoria wants to know if you edit on screen or paper.
Definitely on screen. For the Islanders, actually, it was the first time that I like printed it out. I say my dad very kindly printed it out for me, and he did it in chunks of each 50 pages was a different coloured page, which was quite nice. Sort of something to look forward to as I was turning the pages. So that's the first time I'd sort of read it through and made notes of how I was going to change it. But the sort of editing advice I was following from an author called Susan Dennard, she was saying, do a read through. You're not allowed to edit as you read. And I didn't realize how hard that was, because I was constantly sort of thinking, oh my God, I need to make a note of this. And I want to just change it now that I see it. But that was a really good exercise, I think, to just read it through so that you don't lose the momentum by getting distracted by editing. But yeah, I edit on screen, I write on screen. So I mean my eyes are just so tired with me at the end of the day.
You're amazing. Read like a big long chunk of text on screen and work with it. I'm a print stuff out and work on it kind of person.
And I think that's why it is beneficial to print it out, because I will make the edits on the screen, but actually it's not as easy or enjoyable to read it when it's on the screen. It is much easier and more enjoyable to read it on paper.
So tell us a little bit about what else you've done today to celebrate your publication, because you had a good story about your book signing.
Yes, I did. So I thought it would be quite funny to film a book signing. I was going to do it on my own, just sort of sitting in the garden on my own. But then my mum said, oh, why don't you line sort of teddies up as though you're sort of signing it for them. So filmed that this morning and then posted it on Twitter of me. So I think I said something like massive queue for my pandemic publication day book signing. It's just I think it's had about 6,000 views now on Twitter and 600 likes. Everybody seems to be really enjoying it, and they keep saying that it's very adorable. So I'm worried that they'll think it's a children's book. It's definitely not a children's book, but that was a really fun thing to do. My boyfriend bought me a jigsaw puzzle of the cover. So I haven't done that yet, but will at some point do that. So unwrapping that, and just cards, and friends have sent me flowers and alcohol. So sort of opening those and then went for a long walk on the beach. And actually I've written with a stick, I wrote the Islanders on the beach in the sand, and I've taken a picture of it. So I'll post that in a couple of days, because I think that was quite fun, quite exciting.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got so many more questions. Sorry. So Meg Dilworth says, has lockdown made writing easier or more difficult?
Definitely easier. When I'm not in lockdown, it feels much harder because particularly when I was writing my first novel that didn't go anywhere, the YA fantasy, and even when I was writing the Islanders, I work full time, so I'm giving up, and I struggle to write in the evenings. So then it would be huge chunks of my weekend that I'd be giving up to write, and that's a lot harder when you could be seeing friends, you could be doing other things. Whereas during lockdown, there was not a lot else to do. And in fact, last weekend, because I'm waiting for some notes from Sean on book 2, I had the weekend off, and Saturday just felt like it stretched on for ages and ages and ages. So when I don't have a full day writing, I'm thinking, what do I do with myself? So yeah, definitely lockdown has made it easier in the sense that I'm not stressing that I could, particularly when you haven't yet got an agent, you haven't yet got a book deal. It's hard. It feels like you're really sacrificing a lot of your time for something that might not necessarily materialize. Whereas in lockdown, it was like a hobby. People took up lots of different hobbies, and that was mine. So yeah, it's been really good, actually.
We took up making live panels and all
Yeah, that's
that
also good. It's great.
in lockdown. So what will you do? This is another question on the stream. It says, what will you do post lockdown to celebrate?
Gosh, probably just I'm quite bad at, well, I'm not bad at celebrating, but I'm really bad at just enjoying the achievements. I can be very much like, right, that's done. Got the deal, the book's out, moving on, focus on the next one. But probably, yeah, just see my friends, go for a nice dinner, something like that. Maybe I'll have a party to celebrate post lockdown publication day, version 2.
You've talked about sort of the helpfulness of the other authors with Canelo and sort of your research and things. What other experts, if any, have you consulted during writing?
So the one sort of person / thing that I honestly don't think I'd have written the book without her / it, is YouTube, and an author in particular who's on YouTube called Alexa Dunn. And in fact, it was her mentoring program that I applied to, and she was the one that sent me lots of notes on my book. So I started watching her videos when she didn't have that many followers. She had, say, 2,000 followers on YouTube. Now she's got over 100,000. So last couple of years have really sort of grown for her. But on YouTube, she talks about everything related to publishing. So from literally complete basics, how to write a book, how to plot, genre differences between first person, third person, second person, as well as, she's got an hour-long video on publishing contracts and things to look out for, and all different, all different topics, and that completely changed the game for me, because then I would listen to her videos, and it taught me how to find an agent, how to write a query letter. So that was somebody. I say somebody because I'm watching her videos, so but then obviously she did help me when I entered her mentoring program. And then with my first book, I sent it to an agent who freelances as an editor, just to ask her to review the first couple of pages. And that was really helpful to get her feedback, just understanding what I could do to make that book better. And then working with critique partners and other readers of the book, that they're so valuable. And I have one friend in particular who inhales books. It's unbelievable how quick she reads. And she read The Islanders in an early draft, and it just completely loads of great feedback. And people do say don't send it to your friends because they'll be too kind to you. She was not afraid to say when something wasn't working, just a little comment like, this is stupid, or something like that. And it was funny when I was first chatting to Sean about the book, and she said, I can't remember what the question was, but she said, is there anything you think needs to change? And then I said, oh, well, my friend really hates the ending. And Sean was like, yes. I was thinking about the ending, and maybe the ending should change. So I think of me saying that gave her the impetus to just go like change it.
What have the rest of your family read it?
No, because they wanted to read it sort of on publication day and when it came out in a book. So I signed a copy for my dad this morning, and he's just started reading it. So yeah, and my boyfriend read an early draft and sort of gave me some feedback on very, very specific things. But it was helpful nonetheless. I made some changes based on that.
Victoria Dowd has said Harrogate ? So I think she's
Yeah.
asking if you're planning to go.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to go. I was chatting to Heather Darwent, who's another author represented by Emily, who actually she's just had a massive deal, sold her book. I want to say Orion, but I'm not 100% sure. Sorry if that's wrong. Her and I were messaging about the festival. So yeah, I'd absolutely love to go, because the writing community are amazing. Like, they've been so incredible, and the amount of people that I've just messaged and said, hey, either I'm a debut or I've congratulated people on their deals, and then we've just been chatting, has made, has just been, it's so great, and it's all been virtual. So I'd love to. Oh, and that reminds me, talking about celebrations post lockdown. Emily, my agent, has I think 6 authors now, and I think we'd like to go out and have a sort of meet and greet with drinks and fun. So yes to Harrogate. I'd love to go.
Yeah, I think all of us are kind of looking forward to the next time we can all go to a physical event and see people.
Yeah.
What else have we got? So Jason wants to know what the last book was that you read.
So I have just finished The Appeal by Janice Hallett. I thought it was amazing, really, really amazing. And it was, I don't know if anybody knows what it is, but it's completely written in emails and texts. And I thought that I wasn't sure if I'd like that when I first started. But what was really great about it is it tapped into your inner like Snoop, so you felt like you were reading other people's emails, and so that's why I found it really exciting. I thought that was great. And Janice debuted this year as well.
Wow. So we've got I'm so hard keeping. We've got so many questions. Do you write in silence, or do you have music playing in the background?
A combination of the two. I wouldn't really call it music. So there are 2 things that I can listen to when I write. One of them is called it's on a website called Ambient Mixer, and they have a Harry Potter Gryffindor common room sound, and it's got the sounds of quills scratching on paper and the wind howling. So I can listen to sort of storm sounds. But that's great. The sort of Ambient Mixer Harry Potter common room is great. And then the other one I can listen to that's actually really good, and I don't know how. I think I was searching for music for writing, and a lot of it's classical, but I found that quite distracting. Whereas there's a channel on YouTube that only play, it's like popular music, but a bit calmer and without the words, and that really helps me. That just sort of, because you don't get distracted. So when I'm writing, I certainly can listen to things. I'm not sure if that's the same when I'm editing. But I do like having headphones on, because it like blocks out the world. So even if I'm not listening to anything, I like to have my big headphones on, because it helps me feel like I'm in my own little world.
So Victoria has booked Harrogate, I think. Sam says you and the Islanders were our very first story on the UK CBC Instagram today.
Oh.
She's never used it before.
Great, that's so exciting. Well, it fits, reality TV and
Yeah, there was a question much further up the stream. It's gone wildly away from us now, that asked, would you ever think about going on a reality show?
Well, I was actually partly on one when I was a teenager. I applied. Well, I was almost on one, and my sister was definitely on one. Applied for Serious Amazon. I don't know if anybody ever saw that. It was on CBBC, and it was like eight kids went away to. It was different series had different places. So there was Serious Amazon, Serious Desert, Serious Arctic. I applied for every single one I could, and by the time it hit Serious Amazon, it was like fourth series. They had 40,000 people applying for it, and I got down to the final 16, and I had to go to the selection weekend in Aviemore, where they basically put us through our paces, and we had to climb a mountain in the middle of the night and sleep under a tarpaulin. I wasn't selected, and looking back, I realized it was because I'm not very good TV. So a lot of the people who got in, so when we were doing the abseiling, one guy really couldn't do it. He was scared, he was crying, and then he eventually did it. Whereas I was in the Scouts and Duke of Edinburgh, so I was like, abseiling, that's fine. When we went up in the mountain, it was really rocky, and I got quite travel sick, and I vomited, and the cameras were like, "Oh, how are you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Just being sick." Whereas there was another boy who was sick as well, and he made it into this huge drama. Could he continue? Wasn't sure, but he had to go on for his team. And so I look back and think, oh, I could have done it if I'd have just been a little bit more dramatic. And then my sister was on Raven, the TV show, another CBBC show. Because when I didn't get into Serious Amazon, and then I got too old to apply, I saw Raven, and I said to her, "Oh my gosh, you should apply for this. I will live through you." And she applied, and she got selected. And then they said to her, usually it's filmed in Scotland. And then they said to her, "This year we're filming it in India. Is that okay?" And she was like, "Yes, that would be great." So she went to, I think she was about 13, and she went to India for 6 weeks to be part of this reality television show. So
Amazing.
So I would, but I would definitely, yeah, I think they're quite interesting. I'd want to go on one that would be an adventure one. I don't think I'd want to go into the Big Brother house or on Love Island. I don't think I'd be selected for Love Island. I don't look like them in a bikini, so definitely not. But yeah, if it was an adventure one, like climbing a mountain or traveling somewhere, then yeah, absolutely. I'll just try and be a bit more dramatic next time.
Have you ever seen The Amazing Race? I don't know if it exists anymore.
You don't know.
The Amazing Race is like a great reality show. It's an American one.
Oh,
where,
okay, I think I've heard of it.
Like a team of two, and you have to like go solve clues and go across all these different countries.
Yeah. Someone's put, "I'm a celeb." I'm not a celeb yet. If I become a celebrity, then maybe.
Well, you're doing okay. We'll count this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're a
See if ITV want to cast me.
So, I love when like the other authors tell us what they're doing. So Sheila says she loves listening to music when she's writing. And Marion is a complete silence freak when she writes. They're like polar opposites.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm the author if they two had a baby author. I'm the mix between the two of them.
Yeah, the perfect little mix. But they get on so well as well.
Opposites attract, I guess.
Yeah, clearly. Tony Millington suggests that you could do SAS Who Dares Wins.
I mean, that if anything was going to bring out the dramatic side in me, that would definitely be it. I'm sure there would be tears.
Jenny Badley says, which books authors did you find most helpful when researching for the Islanders?
So I was definitely listening it because I love audiobooks, so I like listening and listening to books and reading them. In fact, I think I'm more of an audio learner actually. So, and I love cooking and walking, so I'll always be listening to something. But yeah, as I said before, Chris McGeorge has a book called a Guess Who, where they're all locked in a room. That was really helpful. And also, so from a plotting perspective, I bought Save the Cat, which helped me understand plotting. And I bought that after I'd let go of my first book and was about to start writing, or maybe I bought it a couple of months after starting The Islanders, and I used that to help me plot it. So that was really helpful for writing The Islanders. And then for my current one, because of the sort of social media element, I've just bought a book. It's actually not related at all. So I got taken in by the cover, but it's called No Filter, and it's all about the birth of Instagram. And it isn't particularly helpful for writing my book, but it does make me think that non-fiction is also really inspiring and can be really interesting. So that's helping me with book 2.
Would you ever be tempted to write some non-fiction?
I don't know. I don't think I'd be good enough at research. So I at university I studied classics. So whenever I see, books coming out, I've forgotten it. Madeline Miller, has written Song of Achilles, and I just think, oh my goodness, the research that goes into nonfiction and historical fiction. I just think I couldn't do it. I don't think I could do it. So probably not. If it was about my life and stuff I didn't need to spend hours in the library, then maybe, but not at the moment, I don't think.
I'm reading. Mary and Todd said baby, so like you with maybe them. Sheila Buckler, I will if you will. And Francesca said she'd love it if those two had a baby. Imagine their accent. And Victoria says, how do you combine social media with writing?
Victoria, do you mean in the sense of how do I combine it as something you need to do as an author, or how do I bring it into my writing?
Shall we go with bring it into your writing? Because I think you do that in a really interesting way. Like The Islanders is a really interesting approach to a crime novel, and the ones you were talking about with book 2 was also a really interesting idea.
Yeah, so I think she's just commented promotion, so I'll answer both. So in my writing, it was actually quite easy in the sense that any Daily Mail article about Love Island or anything kind of dramatic, you just think, well, that's basically what I want to bring in. So yeah, just looking and seeing what else is available online, what articles have been printed, that was really helpful. And in terms of the comments, again, it's actually really, I find it really hard coming up with like people's names on social media, like the social media names. So I was just sort of searching, and I've got one really good name for a social media follower in my current book. So I hope that pops up everywhere because I was very proud of it. But yeah, that's really hard. But I don't know, sometimes I'll just go onto Twitter and click a random thread and just I won't use exactly the same, obviously, but use that as inspiration. And in terms of how do I use it from a promotion perspective, I don't know. I thought in the beginning, I much prefer Instagram to Twitter. I think Twitter's great. Twitter feels like the author place, whereas Instagram for me feels like that's where all the readers are. And I've just been interacting with people on there and posting stuff about my writing and my journey. Unfortunately, the writing's not always, apart from with all these lovely covers behind me, it's not always the most visual. Even when I was editing, I'm there in my pajamas, wrapped in a blanket with a big, headset on. It's not exactly the most. I'll try and get a little bit scrubbed up before I post a picture of my writing. But yeah, I try to be active on Instagram because I think book bloggers on there. They're just firstly all
Oh, we've got a frozen Sarah. See if we can unfreeze her.
pushing out stuff about my writing. Oh,
We lost you for a minute.
oh, sorry, I can't remember where I got to. I'm sure it wasn't that great.
No, you were talking about the book bloggers on Instagram when we lost
Yeah,
you.
so they. Oh, okay. So I was just saying they read so voraciously, and yeah, I feel like none of them sleep. But they're from what I can see, are such an amazing community. So I try to interact with their posts, and if I've read something, post it, and if I've read something that they've liked, try and use it like that, and where possible, try and lift the veil of what my writing experience looks like, but not so much that I'm posting me in my pajamas.
Marion says that you're very good at Instagram.
I have a very
she also wants to know why you use your initials SV rather than first name. Was that a hard decision?
No, not really. I think always from the beginning I didn't necessarily want to use Sarah. But I work full time, so I still have a kind of well, not that writing isn't a profession, of course it is, but I still have a work face.
Yeah.
Which is why I chose SV.
I thought I'd lost you again then, but you're back.
Yeah, sorry, the connection doesn't seem that good.
The concept of a baby between Marion and Sheila is going along. They've decided they might lead Louise to save them and their child. It's crazy. So will you tell your work colleagues about your writing? Do they know?
Yeah, they do know. They all do know. Like my closer team. So my team of about 20, they all know. But not my whole. So I work for the Department for Transport. Not the whole department doesn't know. It was funny. When I was telling my team, because I do work quite closely with the ministers. One of them was saying I should send them copies so that when they're on all their ministerial meetings, it's on the bookshelf behind. I won't be doing that.
That's a good idea.
I don't know if I would want my books associated with my work. I like to keep it separate. I like no, the minister doesn't. The minister doesn't know. The minister's private secretary knows, but the minister doesn't know. And I really love my work. I really like and I do hope to continue my. I don't know how to distinguish them, like my sort of work career and my writing career. Not again, writing is work; it's a profession. So I do like having the separation between the two.
Louise is pro Sheila and Marion having a child. And who was it? Victoria wanted to know if she can get off her speeding fine. You're in aviation though, aren't you? Or work?
Yeah, I work in aviation, so no. I'm sorry I can't help you.
Unless it's a speeding plane, Victoria, probably not. Oh, who's this? So Sheila says she also has a day job and she kept both worlds separate for a long time, but recently did a talk at work about being an author and it was brilliant.
So yeah, I did a talk to my my smaller team. We have a session once or twice a month where someone in the team talks about anything. One person did it on castles, somebody did it on photography, someone did it on tennis. So I did mine on writing. And there is a book club. So I did shamelessly get in touch with the Department for Transport book club and say, hey, I've written a book. Would you like me to come and talk about it? So I mean, I think hopefully they'll take me up on it, and will want to read it. So I don't mind talking about it, and I think that's one really, really positive thing about being a civil servant, is that they like you having a life outside that's celebrated. It's not something that you need to hide. But I do like having some separation between the two. Also, there aren't any other so it's great from a Google perspective.
I can tell which comment on this, even though it says Facebook user, is my dad, because he's offering to do a chat on decibel notation. It's,
Cool. I mean, I'll offer it up and see if anybody takes me up on it.
Victoria said that her husband's learning to fly.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, what when we were chatting last week, Caroline, and yeah, I didn't know that your brother was a pilot, so that's really cool. We had a good chat about that. But what's really fun, I mean, I've learned so much about aviation since joining. I didn't know there was so much to know. But everybody who works in aviation is so passionate about it. It's really sweet. I love how much people love the sector that they work in. It's great.
I think this is Sheila as well, saying that her next book is about a plane crash, so she's been researching her investigation colleagues.
Oh well, if she I have contacts. If you want, just get in touch and I can connect you with the right people. Because I don't know if anybody saw McDonald's and Dodds last Sunday, but it was a hot air balloon crash, and as soon as I saw the crash and the police came, I said, no, it wouldn't be the police. It would be the Air Accident Investigation Branch. And then that character came in from, it wasn't the same name, but I felt like, oh, I've become one of the aviation geeks. It's me now. I'm one of them.
It's so good. We've got 3 minutes left. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the Islanders? Give us a last plug. Show your cover off again.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've been showing it off the whole time, so.
You could do a close up.
Okay, I'll do a little. I'm not very good at getting the angle right.
That's it.
So,
perfect.
Yeah. So I think it was such a fun thing to write, and I know from what the readers have been saying that it's a really fun escapist read. I think it would be perfect to read on a beach. Although a friend has just invited me and some other friends to Greece, and I thought, she hasn't read my book. Once she's finished it, she might not want me to come anymore. But yeah, so I think it'll be a really fun read. It's fast paced, something I think completely different to what else is out there. And I hope people enjoy it, and I hope people buy it and have fun reading it. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I think that's it. Buy it.
Sarah's really generous. She is going to go through everyone who's commented and pick someone to give a signed copy of her book to.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll be able to look at this and put it into some kind of, I don't know, generator for a copy, and then I'll get in touch and ask for your address, and I'll post it to you.
Lovely. And thanks so much for coming on and talking to us on publication.
No, thank you for having me. It was really fun.